So, our goal throughout this semester is what's called media literacy. Presumably, if you've made it this far in your academic career, you understand the concept of how media work and what impact they have on your life specifically. We're going to engage that in a little bit more detail. So, let's start here with some course objectives. One of our course objectives is to jumbo linear transmissions for our proto-expletive recombinations. Who wrote that? Later, there's burrito and Goldfinger and Egg McMuffin lumberjacks aplenty. And finally, we'll be preternaturally crumulent as we rotate our grommets. That is nonsense, is it not? Of course it is. You don't know what I'm saying. I said words, you heard words, they're in the right language, but we didn't communicate. And I did all that for a specific reason. In order to think about mass communication, we have to think about what communication is. We have to define the terms. Defining communication, I use this one. It comes from a scholar named James Carey, and it's the process of creating shared meaning. This is the definition that I'm going to use for communication throughout the class. It's a cultural definition of communication. Basically, we say we create and we refine our reality through the way we communicate. This definition tells us three things. First of all, process. Communication is a process. It doesn't just automatically happen. We're going to talk about some models later on today that sort of define how that process happens. The next important word in that sentence is creating. Communication involves creation. The question is a creation process, right? If you're a PR practitioner or a reporter or an advertising executive, you spend hours crafting a message. Sometimes a message can be created accidentally, which is it's not a deliberate act. In other words, other people interpret different meanings based on what you say. But the result is what's called shared meaning or shared reality. Communication is the foundation of our culture. So think about this class. So there are, according to my notes, 30 people, give or take, enrolled in this class. We come from diverse backgrounds. We come from all different types of religions, different types of cultures, different regions of the country, speak different languages. The thing we have in common is the communication we share. The communication brings us together. What you said or didn't say to people before this class started and what you say once we get started, all of that communication creates the reality of the class that you're experiencing. Communication creates meaning, and therefore that's what gives us the culture that we live in. Your reality is different from my reality, and your reality may be different from the reality of another person who's sitting through this class. We continue our communication until we agree upon a mutually shared meaning. It's very important in our class material, by the way. If I therefore define communication as the process of creating shared meaning, and you define it on a test as the process of creating a grilled cheese sandwich, we are going to have to come to some sort of an agreement on which one of those is actually reality. My reality is going to be the one that holds sway, but that's one of the advantages of being on this end of the camera. Society is no different. Advertisers are spending millions of dollars to tell you that short pants are okay to wear. You've seen ads, regardless of the fact that you might have ugly legs. Our culture has taught us that it's okay to wear shorts. I actually saw an article today that I meant to bring in with me from The Atlantic that talks about people who wear shorts all during the winter as some sort of a cultural statement. And by the way, those ads have even told you what type of shorts to wear. Capris or culottes or cutoffs or baggies. And they change the style so they can sell you something new. Clothing is cultural communication and a way to make money by changing styles. Now, communication unites and divides us. That's the next important thing that we need to understand about the way we communicate. I want to apologize in advance for this spot. I graduated from the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa 2 different times, so this particular video resonated with me based on the culture that I grew up in.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, y'all. Roll Tide, Margaret.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Get sauce. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
It's such an honor. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide? Yep.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now, Roll Tide. Woo!
Hi, Mary and Daisy. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
You will always be remembered. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Based on that video, what would you say Roll Tide actually means in this culture? The reality is, it can mean whatever we want it to mean. It means hello, it means goodbye, it means we made a deal, it means please, thank you, I enjoyed that, farewell, shows pride, it shows humility. It is a phrase that brings people together. You can be in other states and other nations and seeing people from like backgrounds, and Roll Tide brings them together as an instant understanding and acceptance of one another. Now, having said that, that type of communication is also meant to divide. If you like this logo better, we also have this particular video for you.
There are 2 words that give you a sense of belonging, even when you're far from home. And when you hear them, you know you're with family.
War Eagle.
2 simple words.
War Eagle.
Uniquely Auburn. War Eagle.
Depending on what side of this particular rivalry you're on, these 2 videos made you feel a certain way. That's okay. The point is that communication is meant to bring one community together, but it's also meant to communicate to other communities that that's really not for them. That video keeps, that type of communication, rather, keeps people out. It unites one type of people, and it divides others. Based on the shared meaning we create through our communication. That's how we create our community, and it's how we create our society. If you're not a sports fan, this can still resonate with you in different types of ways. Maybe it makes you think of a fraternity or a sorority or a religious group that you're in or a political party. Any type of group that you're in, talking about your high school friends or maybe your childhood friends or long lost cousins. There are certain stories, there are certain types of communication that bring you together, but also sort of keep out the people who are around you.